Lined up for you in tonight's broadcast. Before we get into it, here are our top stories. Tonight on Lookup Weekend.
Bei imeongezeka inatuaffect pia sisi.
Nafikiria wameongeza mafuta ndio tununue hizi pikipiki za stima.
PMS freight and premium is at a high of between $240 to $260 per cubic meter per metric ton.
The prices of fuel cross over the 200 mark as Kenyans decry the rising cost of living, with the government insisting the issue is beyond their control.
They either act or await the fate that has fallen other insensitive and incompetent regimes across the continent.
It was a grand disaster. The Azimio coalition castigates the performance of KENYANS 1 year in office.
This is primarily a pictorial or a summary of what we established to be the top performing governors.
And Cecily Mbarire emerges top on the latest governor's SCORECARD report as Jonathan B. trails behind, with Mutula Kilonzo receiving the highest approval rating. Once more, welcome to the broadcast. I am Nancy Nalima. Our sign language interpreter for tonight is Felista Adundo. Do stay with us as we bring you up to speed with stories that are making headlines today. You can also engage us across all social media platforms at Lookuptv on Twitter, Lookuptv on Facebook, and Lookuptv on our YouTube channel. Let's begin. Following announcement of new fuel prices by the Fuel Control Authority (UPROAR), Energy Cabinet Secretary and Principal Secretary Davis Churcher and Mohammed Liban have concurred that the increase in the price of the precious commodities was as a result of the government not cushioning stakeholders in the sector.
As Kenyans ready themselves for tough times ahead following move by Fuel Control Board (UPROAR) to increase fuel prices of petrol by 16.96, diesel at 21.32 and kerosene by 33.13 shillings, Energy and Petroleum Ministry has come out today to defend the prices and stress that the increase is due to the government withdrawal of cushion fee to fuel vendors in the sector, which has resulted to a ripple effect of increase in fuel prices, unlike months of July and August where prices remain constant after government intervention in the entire fuel purchasing process from the relevant distributors globally.
We paid oil marketers 169 billion we cleared by the end of June this year. So there's no subsidy. But we have what we call Petroleum Development Levy. Close what we collect is about 2.3 billion. July we had a spike of diesel. We were able to cushion you from that. August, it was about almost the same, we cushioned you. This time because of the escalating, what is happening globally, because of the winter, which needs a lot of heating, because of the climate change, because of the monetization of money in America. So we have the global problem. That is why we are having all these spikes. As he mentioned, we need to face the reality.
The ministry stressed that the rise in prices is also as a result of the current winter season in the fuel-producing countries, which affects prices due to the costly storage process.
PMS freight and premium is at a high of between $240 to $260 per cubic meter per metric ton. And for us to have negotiated 90, that is really something that could have assisted us but certainly we are going to enjoy the benefits from this coming month, and hopefully in the coming days the rising prices of products amidst the world challenges of Ukraine-Russian war, the reduction of the barrels in the market, and the challenges of the winter and so on and so forth should not hit us the way what the Director General did announce yesterday.
CS Chirchir added that the government is in the process to reduce the price of liquefied petroleum gas products to boost the sector, holding that were it not for the government, fuel prices will be higher after intervention in the entire fuel purchase from fuel distributing countries.
Amidst the climate action, the climate mitigation and adaptation challenges, we need to move from biomass, where we cut 70% of our forest, firing our homes in terms of provision of energy, to transitional fuel like LPG, And in a short while, 3-4 years, we are told, let's put a gas cylinder in every home in Kenya.
Effective midnight on September 15th, 2023, the new prices for these petroleum products will be as follows. Super petrol will retail at Kenya shillings 211.64, diesel at 200.99, and kerosene at 202.61 per litre in Nairobi. These fuel prices include 16% value-added tax in compliance with the provisions of the Finance Act 2023, the Tax Laws Amendment Act 2020, and the revised rates for excise duty adjusted for inflation as per legal notice number 194 of 2020. EPRA emphasizes that these regulations aim to balance the need to recover importation and other incurred costs while ensuring fair prices for consumers. Sanle Lugaria, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Lagarian. Staying on those prices, following the increase of fuel prices, Kenyans in the country now will be forced to dig deeper into their pockets to meet the rising harsh cost of living. Kenyans have given their diverse views on the rising cost of living, as Mevin Getembe now reports.
Kenyans will now be forced to dig deeper into their pockets to meet the high standard of living, especially the rise of prices of fuels. And today on Your Opinion Matters, we are asking Kenyans, how are these prices affecting their daily activities? Increase of fuel prices in the country is now forcing Kenyans to dig deeper into their pockets to meet their needs. The transport sector is already hiked fare prices, increasing the cost of living.
Mimi kama comedian, wacha tu niweke hivyo. Kulingana na mimi kama comedian, nafikiria wameongeza mafuta ndio tununue hizi pikipiki za stima. So that's what mimi nafeel. Lakini inatuumiza sana sababu mafuta imepanda, lakini customer hawataka kupandisha bei. So at the end of the day inachoma.
Ni kweli mafuta imeongezeka na si jambo rahisi sana kwa sababu customer wale tunabeba ni wale tu. Si wale utakuja waambie umeongeza bei, pia wao ni mahustlers wengi. Sasa imekuwa chini sababu ukiambia customer ni wale wanalia tu. Customer kama unabeba salasa ama chwani anakuambia ako na 20 bob ama mwingine anakuambia ako na 40 bob. Ukiangalia bei ya mafuta nayo haikubali. So inakuwa ni ngumu.
Bei ambayo ninayochukua naye mtu hapa mpaka from town imekuwa bei ya chini sana. Unaikuta ni 130. Badala ingestahili hata ikuwe 200, angalau maisha angalau ikuwe hata ule mtu amefikisha bei ya lita moja.
Life in general is bound to change, with the Ministry of Trade warning that things are about to get tough in the coming days, stressing that Kenyans should brace themselves for tougher times until February next year, as fuel prices could be rising by 10 shillings every month. Kenyans, however, are still running back to the government to ask for help.
Sasa mimi kwa majina mimi ni Elisha, mimi ni mwanafunzi. Na nile sasa hivi ile bei imepanda ya mafuta. Imetuathiri sana sisi kama wanafunzi. Kwanza si wenye tuna commute kutoka places mbali, unaona. Ile kupanda transport kuna venye imepanda. Kwanza depending on time. Na ile kwanza sector investors wakiwa na country fulani prices zimepanda sana hivi. Inawashtua. Si umesikia juzi Sululu akisema vile watu wengi investors wengi wamehama kutoka Kenya hadi Tanzania.
Imeniathiri juu kutoka Kangware kitambo tulikujanga na mbao. Mimi nafanya hapa hili karibu na NHF, nafanya kazi ya usafi. Mimi ni hustler tu. Imeniathiri sana. Saa hii jioni saa zingine tunaona saa hii ni saa 9 lakini tunabebwa na 40.
Well, as you can see, petrol now goes for 211 shillings as diesel goes for 200 shillings here in Nairobi. Now Kenyans asking the government and the relevant authorities to wind up and rescue this economy. Mevin Getembe, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mevin. Now, the Azimio coalition has termed the performance of Kenya Kwanza government in the first year in office as a grand disaster. Led by opposition leader Raila Odinga, the coalition blamed Ruto's regime for plunging the country into an economic crisis with the cost of living at an all-time high. Odinga further slammed the government for neglecting the education sector, saying the cost of education has gone up by 225%. In true opposition fashion, the Azimio coalition has strongly criticized President William Ruto's government, since it took the reins of power 1 year ago.
In the second quarter of 2022, which is the first era of Kenya Kwanza regime leading into 2023, the economy grew by only 5.2%. In a similar period in 2021, it grew by 11%.
Opposition Chief Raila Odinga noted that the prices of basic commodities has sharply increased owing to poor governance, saying the Kenya Kwanza government is run by propaganda.
The ball is squarely in the court of the regime. They either act or await the fate that has fallen other insensitive and incompetent regimes across the continent.
The coalition has castigated Ruto's regime for going against its campaign promises and overtaxing Kenyans at a time when the economy is ailing and increasing the borrowing by 400 billion shillings.
The regime resorted to more borrowing, ignoring the warnings that we are in debt distress and at the risk of debt default. Without blinking an eye, the regime went against its promises to reduce borrowing and did the complete opposite.
The government has further been blamed for ailing businesses, with the macro and micro businesses said to be defaulting loans by an alarming 17%.
Kenyans responded to this turn of events by trying to steady their businesses, especially the small enterprises. But those efforts were in vain as interest rates rose through the roof and more taxes hit those businesses.
Odinga slammed the Ruto regime as one that has disregarded education, saying while cost of education has extraordinarily increased, the quality is dismal.
In 1 year, Kenya Kwanza has thrown the education sector into a deep financial crisis. In public, Kenya Kwanza administration continues to talk about free education. The reality in our schools and homes across Kenya is that education is no longer free, either in primary or secondary schools.
The coalition criticized the new fuel prices as an indication that the matters will only get worse.
No amount of fertilizer will lower the cost of food as long as the cost of fuel is unchecked. Diesel is one of the highest costs in farming. Even if you give the citizen a bag of fertilizer, but make it impossible for her or him to plow an acre of land, you have not solved the problem.
Odinga has assured Kenyans that the cost of living will be top of the agenda at the National Dialogue talks, with electoral justice a close second. And staying on that cost of living, the Federation of Kenya Employers has faulted the move by the government to increase the tax base, terming it unfavorable for the businesses and the job market. The employers argue that these measures could result in business closures, job losses, and slow down in the economic growth.
Speaking during a press briefing from Nairobi, FKE has protested about over-reliance of government on taxes from formal sector to fund its project, saying the move overburdens employment sector.
Kenya is currently grappling with the high cost of living, which threatens our very social fabric. We are facing a challenge of shrinking disposable incomes and increasing prices. This is impacting negatively on the quality of life. Working population are getting into a situation where they can hardly afford to meet the health, education, food, and shelter needs for their households. Kenya lost over $345 million worth of foreign direct investment and other investment inflows in just 3 months as economic growth plummeted over unfriendly policies. Budget with what we have. The challenge with our budgeting process is that we do not prioritize our programs. We want to fund every item on the wish list. The reality is that resources are limited, and we have to live within our means as a country.
The Federation says the government should involve major stakeholders in policy making to mitigate common mwananchi.
We appeal to the Executive and Parliament to address this matter by involving all stakeholders in the process of developing policies that reduce poverty and enhance economic growth. whether to an individual corporate or to an individual natural person. The underpinning philosophy in tax management should not be taxing people and corporates into poverty. It should instead support many businesses and persons to increase their productivity and thereby enter into the tax bracket.
Aludagail, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
And away from that, Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire is the best performing governor. This is according to the latest survey conducted by ISS Africa, which shows the Embu Governor, has led development with a 65%, and Makueni Governor Mutula Kilonzo leading in approval rating with 73% nationwide. The survey conducted across the country also shows Western Gishu Governor trailing behind both in approval and development ratings.
Of 2021 never made it.
1 year in office, the performance and approval ratings of the 47 governors is out. ISS Africa conducted a survey on approval and development rating in the country, putting Governor Cecily Mbarire on top, followed by Irungu Kang'ata.
Different economic blocks, you go to the coast, you go to northeastern and all that. It is important for the residents of these respective regions and counties to be able to understand what areas they need to hold their governors to account. So this is primarily a pictorial or a summary of what we established to be the top performing governors, both on development and approval ratings. This is a summary of overall, nationally, what we established to be the best performing governors on matters development. And Governor Cecily Mbarire of Embu emerged to be the leading governor countrywide with the highest development score of 65.4%. Followed by Governor Irungu Kang'ata, that is Murang'a, with 62.8%.
On approval rating, Makueni Governor Mutula Kilonzo carried the day with a 73% approval.
This is one of the reasons we have specifically focused on the two areas in our surveys, on development rating and approval rating, because we are hoping with time that the different citizens of this country from the respective areas will start attaching the component of development to popularity. We have very many cases of politicians being elected to office because they are generally popular, but when it comes to actual delivery, it is very minimal. That's why you find the national average of even approval ratings is way higher than the development score. That means a majority of these governors are still more invested in the politicking or in the politics than the actual delivery of development programs that translate to benefits to the people.
On both approval and development, Uasin Gishu County trailed behind, taking number 47 out of 47, with Nairobi and Kiambu appearing in the bottom 10.
A bottom 10 governors nationwide in terms of development, and again Nairobi emerges at number 38 currently with a score, a development approval or a development score of 33.7%. We have Kiambu, Governor Kimani Wamatangi, at 23.4%. We have Bomet, Governor Professor Hilary Barchok at 22.3%. And lastly, we have Governor Jonathan B, aka Kotimoja, standing at 20.7%. These are approval ratings. This translates to the
survey also reveals that female governors did make it to the top, with 4 out of the 7 elected governors appearing in top 10 of the best overall governors.
Emerged as among the best performing both on matters development and approval rating, with 4 out of the 7 currently elected women governors making it to the top 10, both on development and approval rating, which we consider to be very impressive compared to only 15% of the current male governors who are in office. And as I indicated, or as I stated earlier, there is no specific correlation between gender and the performance, but it is worthy to note that 10 years down the line with devolution and with 7 elected women governors, 4 out of the 7 made it to the top 10, both on development and approval. To us, this is a very interesting statistic that we may want to interrogate further.
Brian Amuai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
That story by Brian Amuai takes us a very fast break here on the program. So much more on the other side. Don't go too far.
Realize your home ownership dream by investing in Brookvale Tuala, a magnificent prime residential property located in Ongata Rongai. Brookvale Tuala by Safaricom Investment Cooperative overlooks the majestic Ngong Hills and lies only 24 kilometers from Nairobi CBD. The project boasts of well-serviced plots with a perimeter wall, graded roads and a borehole. 50 by 100 plots are going for 1.4 million shillings with a flexible payment plan of up to 6 months. To book your plot, call 0729 121212 today. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, the investment partner of choice.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with Lookuptv. Nancy Nalima here and Felista Adundo on the sign language interpretation. Let's continue. Senior national government officers held a meeting at the Kenya School of Government to evaluate performances for the financial year 2022-2023. The meeting, which was attended by officials from the government, among them Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service Felix Koskei and PS Internal Security and National Administration Dr. Raymond Omolo, projected a notable improvement in service delivery.
During a meeting with several top officials from the government at the Kenya School of Government, a report of the financial year 2022-2023 was tabled, which projected an improvement in service delivery, with the speakers emphasizing on the need to fight corruption.
We all know that countries that have succeeded in eliminating or reducing corruption, the tone at the top has always assisted. We now have the president himself expressing clearly in no uncertain words that corruption must end in this country. Circulars have been given to the public servants to comply with, and as EACC we are extremely pleased with that particular directive because that tone at the top helps a lot.
Coming at the backdrop of scandals that rocked the Immigration Department and the need to clean it up, the Immigration Department Principal Secretary Ambassador Bitok affirmed that the corruption in his department will soon be a thing of the past.
From the immigration side, I want to tell the country that we have been able to turn around immigration and that right now immigration is a corruption-free zone and that we are doing everything possible to ensure that Kenyans are able to get their passports within 7 days. I want to say that we are planning an RRI that is starting next week. And in the RRI, we are saying we want to move out all the passports. We have about 87,000 passports that have been produced and Kenyans have not collected. But the most important message for Kenyans is that let's come for our passports.
In his speech, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service Felix Koskei admitted that corruption has taken center stage, especially among public servants, and talked about their plan to curb it.
We wanted also to engage with the public servants. We felt that we need to have a discussion so that we consolidate the war against corruption inside the government. Let ourselves as public servants appreciate the situation, appreciate the extent that corruption has permeated, and also come up with strategies and ways of ensuring that we eliminate this corruption within the ranks of government. And that is why we've been having several series of meetings targeting areas that are prone to corruption, areas like public works. We have had meetings.
Leaders, however, agreed that during the financial year 2023-2024, they will prioritize on areas such as enforcement of government's zero-tolerance policy.
And beyond our borders, President William Ruto arrived in San Francisco on Thursday for an investment meeting with top tech companies in the USA. In a visit that aims to enhance investment opportunities and trade relations with the United States, the president plans to meet top tech company officials, among them Apple, Intel, Microsoft, and Google, among others. This comes as an opportunity to nurture Kenya's thriving startup sector, alias the Silicon Savannah.
On Thursday, President William Ruto's itinerary touched down in San Francisco in the United States of America for a series of high-profile meetings. The head of state in company of Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua was received by the head of public service Felix Koskei and other top brass leaders in his administration. His visit to the States coming just a week after Kenya hosted an inaugural Africa Climate Summit where heads of state in the African continent called for equality in funding on matters climate conservation. While in the US, President Ruto has visited Silicon Savannah in San Francisco, where he has held a meeting with tech leaders from reputable companies including Apple, Google, Intel and Microsoft to sell Kenya as an investment destination of choice. Later, President Ruto will attend the 78th United Nations General Assembly sessions in New York. The Assembly will assess the progress of Sustainable Development Goals in addition to addressing climate crises around the globe. Before winding up his visit, President Ruto will participate in the UN Secretary General's Climate Ambition Summit, building on the lessons of the recently concluded Africa Climate Summit in Kenya. Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Tende. Now, anti-narcotics detectives based at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport have seized 3.2 million shillings worth of heroin and arrested the trafficker, a Polish citizen aged 37. The suspect, Arkadiusz Stanislaw, was arrested at JKA's Terminal C moments before boarding a Hungary-bound Egyptian airline. The trafficker, who was destined for Hungary's capital Budapest, has since been booked in police cells awaiting further processing and arraignment. Stanislaw's arrest comes at a time when crackdowns on drug traffickers and unlicensed brewers have been heightened, a move by the government to foil the illicit trade in the country. And in the county, the government has intensified the fight against banditry and livestock theft. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki on Friday emphasized that the days of armed criminals terrorizing people with impunity are long gone. Highlighting some strides made, the Interior Chief said significant ground has been covered in tracking and neutralizing armed criminals who had turned parts of North Rift Valley, Upper Eastern and coastal regions into their territory, killing men, women and children and impoverishing them economically.
It is a region that has been prone to insecurity, one that CS Kithure Kindiki now says the government is determined to deal with head-on. Kindiki says officers will be armored enough to deal with bandits and that the government will not relent in the war against banditry.
Na wale ambao wamekuwa katika hii biashara, mimi nataka niwaambie siku za wizi wa ng'ombe, siku za kuua wenzako, siku zenu zimehesabiwa. Hawa maofisa ambao tumeleta hapa, hawajakuja hapa kufanya utalii.
And in Laikipia, the county government has launched a water drilling program to combat water scarcity in the region. Governor Joshua Irungu aims to drill 300 boreholes over 4 years with at least 2 boreholes per ward. In Embu County, close to 30 families are counting losses in Majimbo village after a fire is down 14 house structures, but only 7 were completely destroyed, with angry residents accusing firefighters of negligence and failure to act on time.
Tuko na hofu sana sababu wale wamechomekewa hakuna kitu imebaki. Kini wale wengine na gari ziko hapa tu neiba na hazina miguu na hazina maji. Hata tumeshangaa sana.
Kisii County Government has partnered with the Kibosi International Health Foundation to address cardiovascular ailments that were costly to treat abroad. Governor Simba Arati highlighted the need to improve the county's health sector, which had received substantial funding but faced challenges.
We can fix all other things, but if we cannot fix our health sector, we is a dead society. We are scaling our engagement with the like-minded partners, the likes of Kibos, to establish a cardiovascular center, which will not only serve our county, but the entire Lake region economic bloc. Thank you indeed for equipment you have donated, and Professor Hiroshima.
Ebika Denyi, Lookuptv.
Time now for us to get sporty. Zainab Alibai, the founder of Go Jump Kenya, has introduced skydiving at the Vipingo Ridge Beach Club. The sport has begun to attract international players from around the world, boosting Kilifi County's tourism sector, with the company aiming to reinvent professional skydiving in East Africa. Zainab, who has been a skydiver for the last 10 years and did her first tandem skydive in 2014, plans to open a skydiving school in the area to give both locals and foreigners a chance to learn skydiving with their modern equipment.
We affiliate ourselves with CD.
Kilifi County's tourism sector has received a major boost after Zainab Alibai, founder of Go Jump Kenya, introduced skydiving at Vipingo Ridge Beach Club. Zainab has been a skydiver for the last 10 years and did her first tandem skydive in 2014, making her the first internationally recognized skydive instructor in Kenya.
My name is Zainab Alibai. I am the drop zone owner for Go Jump Kenya. Go Jump Kenya is a skydiving center based in Vipingo Ridge in Kilifi County. I have been a skydiver for the last 10 years. I did my first tandem back in 2014. Thereafter, straight away, after 2 weeks, I did my AFF course, which is the course for becoming a licensed skydiver. Basically, I am a tandem instructor. I am an AFF instructor, which means I can teach people how to skydive.
Zainab plans to open a skydiving school in the area to give both locals and foreigners a chance to learn skydiving with their modern equipment, which are very safe to do a tandem skydive.
Soon we will be opening the school to teach Kenyans and others as well parachuting if they'd like to and get their license. Once they get their license, they get 25 jumps and get their license, A license, they can jump with other fun jumpers, other licensed skydivers.
She has also called on the government to support her through the Ministry of Trade and Tourism to promote skydiving to bring in more tourists through the sport.
I would like to have more support from the government, from the Ministry of Trade and Tourism, to promote skydiving in a way that we can bring more tourists here through this sport.
Recently, Go Jump Kenya organized the boogie that brought together renowned licensed skydivers and even a World Guinness record holder skydiver, which attract key personalities to watch the game, with some locals even taking part in the game.
Well, we've got about a dozen participants that have come to this year's event, and they come from all over the world. We have people from the USA, we have people from Saudi Arabia, we have people from Peru, you name it, and they're coming. It's a beautiful time, it's a beautiful place, and we're so lucky to have this boogie because it brings people from the four corners of the world, and we help them discover beautiful Kenya.
Reporting for Lookup Sports, I'm Ruto.
Thank you, Asheke. Now, the 2023 Rugby Africa Sevens that serves as the African Continental Championship will this year double as the African qualification tournament for the 2024 Olympic Games. Kenyan team Shujaa has arrived in Zimbabwe today and will headline Pool B alongside Zambia, Namibia and Nigeria tomorrow. A total of 12 teams will play at Harare Sports Club in Zimbabwe this weekend in 3 pools of 4 teams each. Here are some of the fixtures of the tournament. And back here in the country, the Safaricom Chapadimba tournament heads to Kisumu, Nyamira, Homa Bay and Migori counties for the Nyanza County finals this weekend. On Saturday, Manyata FC will face off Obunga FC in the boys category, while Manyata ladies will compete against Plateau ladies from the Kisumu County Championship at Moi Stadium. Meanwhile, at Kiandege Stadium in Nyamira County, Nyakugu FC will clash with St. Peter's Nyaisa in the boys match, as Gekamoni goes head-to-head with Rigonia Starlets. On Sunday in Homa Bay County, Mbita High School will tackle Karabondi FC in the boys category, as Uganda girls play against Alara girls at Wakiaga Polytechnic grounds. In Migori County, Awendo Academy squares off against Kangeso boys, while Awendo ladies take on Agenga girls at Migori Stadium. The FKF Premier League will resume this weekend for the 3rd round after a short international break to allow the national football team Harambee Stars to take part in 2 international friendly matches. Bandari will host Ulinzi Stars, as Tusker will travel to Kakamega to face off against Kakamega Homeboys, while AFC Leopards will play against Muhoroni Youth. Here are some more fixtures for the weekend. The Premier League returns this weekend after an international break. Manchester United, who are under pressure to get back on track, will face Brighton at Old Trafford, while the Wolves host Liverpool on Saturday. Chelsea will tackle Bournemouth in an away game, while Everton will clash with Arsenal at Goodison Park on Sunday. Here are more weekend fixtures. And just like that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. What a way to usher you into the weekend. And continue engaging with us across all the social media platforms. Let us know if you'll be going out this weekend with the cost of fuel at an all-time high. I'd like to sample some of your feedback just before we close. You know, we always appreciate when you give us your opinion and, of course, tell us where you're watching us from as well. A lot of you, SMSs coming in fast and thick across our Facebook page. And let me just sample some of them. Joseph Kasu says he is watching from Kisumu. Thank you so much. Simon Lena says Nakuru iko locked. We appreciate your feedback. And finally, Lina Chelimo says we are tuned in. Do let us know where you're watching us from. Lookuptv comes to you across all of 47 counties and, of course, beyond even our borders at Lookuptv on Twitter, on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. And to catch the latest stories that are making headlines, www.lookuptv.co.ke is where you can be up to date with the latest. But from us here this evening, it's good night. I am Nancy Limo. Sign language interpreter has been Felista Adundo. Have a blessed weekend. Goodbye.